Hello everyone, Chaos here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. Depending on who you talk to, Slayer could be seen as one of the best skills in the game because of its variety and how profitable it is, or one of the worst ones because of how slow and boring it can be. No matter how you feel about it, it must always be part of your progression to be able to battle profitable monsters and hunt for pretty cool pets. That is why today, I will give you a bunch more tips to make the grind more tolerable on your way to one of the coolest skill capes in the game. Boys and girls, if this video is useful and you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe with notifications on and drop a like for the YouTube overlords. If you need any help on your Slayer grind after the video, join our Discord server with the link in the description. Remember, this is just a small glimpse as to how to make Slayer more efficient, and you can complement all the information learned in this video with my 1 to 99 Slayer guide. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start the 2024 Slayer tips video. Why don't we start from the beginning? As most of you know, the museum quiz will give you 1000 Slayer experience, and a quest you can also do pretty quickly is Pour Sign of Interest, which grants 1000 experience as well, taking you from levels 1 to 13. Any other quest that gives Slayer experience is miles away from the early game, so this will do for your fresh account. If you combine tips we have seen in previous videos, like doing a bunch of quests that will take you from level all 1s in combat to 30s or even 40s, you will naturally be skipping a bunch of Slayer Masters. We are aiming to start Slayer quote-unquote seriously with Vanica, which requires level 40 combat. This is not bad because his Slayer tasks will be pretty fair for your combat level, and only a few of them could be a bit concerning. I will always say that you should train Slayer with combat whenever you have the chance, but I have a simple golden rule that I just made up. And that is that if you're just a few levels away from a combat levels 70, 75, 85, or 100, you could easily camp Nightmare Zone to be able to use a higher tier Slayer Master. This will naturally bring in more Slayer experience, and of course more money in case you are told to kill some profitable monsters that are super easy to kill, like Dust Devils or Nagriels. In the early game, however, you may be asked to kill monsters that give single-digit Slayer experience, and for that you can ask your Slayer Master to not take your combat level into account, which will unlock their entire task list, as long as it's not restricted by a quest. But remember, this could backfire, and you could end up with 50 Iron Dragons during the early game, which is one of the worst tasks in the game. I also want to take a few seconds to talk about items you should almost always bring to any general Slayer task and how to obtain them. This is mostly personal preference since I already have the muscle memory to bring whatever I need, and by muscle memory I mean my Slayer bank tab. And the less I need to scramble around my bank to find my items, the better. If you are on a long Slayer session, teleport to house with any item like a house teleport tab or construction cape will never have to leave your inventory. Pair this with the best to teleport to your active Slayer Master or even the NPC contact spell, and you will be changing these a lot quicker. If you can afford them, a dwarf multi-cannon along a healthy stack of cannonballs will also be a staple in your inventory, even for single combat areas where you can set it up for faster kills. There are certain areas where you cannot place a cannon, but more on this later. If you have done the Mauritania and the Current Hard or Elite Diary, you will obtain the Bone Crusher and Ash Sanctifier respectively. With a hard tier, you will get half the prayer experience for each bone or ash you bury or scatter, and the Elite tier will give you the full experience. On top of that, you simply cannot forget about boosting potions, prayer potions, and of course food. If you are in the mid or even late game and you can't afford to keep protecting and boosting prayers active at all times, you will have to balance out hit points and prayer points to make the most out of your trip. If you're an unrestricted account, a lot of the late game tasks will almost always pay for your prayer potions if you decide to do them this way, so no need to worry too much about expenses. I will now give you a bunch of tips for your cannon to learn everything that there is to it to maximize your experience gains. First of all, a few Slayer locations where you are not able to set up a cannon so you can free some inventory space. These are the Abyss, Ancient Cavern, the Catacombs of Corinth, funnily enough the Dwarven Workshop and the Mine, the Fremennik Slayer Dungeon, Forthos Dungeon, the area with the Basilisk Knights, the Worm and Hydra areas in the Karum Slayer Dungeon, Lizardman Caves, the Slayer Tower, every Tazar area, and finally the Fossil Island Caverns. You can take your cannon to single combat areas, and if it's firing and the monsters are not able to hit you, it will attack all of them because technically you're not engaged in a 1v1 fight yet. If a monster attacks you though, the cannon will only be able to target your current enemy. If you use cannonballs on your cannon, it will reload faster instead of clicking on it to add more cannonballs. But this saves just a few ticks, so no biggie if you don't do it. On the topic, thanks to the combat achievement rewards, remember that you can load more cannonballs in your cannon with a medium, hard, and elite tier, bringing the maximum capacity to 35, 45, and 60 respectively. Finally, and I would say most importantly, the cannon can hit a single target twice per rotation. For 2x2 enemies, stand 3 tiles away from the cannon diagonally, and for 3x3, stand just 1 diagonal tile away from the cannon. Remember that if you're in a multi-combat area, this trick may not work, because your cannon is already hitting something else in one direction. So this is mostly to speed up trips in single combat areas. Something a ton of people always ask me for is which tasks to block, which to cancel, and which to extend. Most of the time this is completely up to personal preference because of my block list is catered to something I'm currently doing and may not be practical for you. Something I explained in my previous video is that you should always block tasks which a master can assign commonly but you simply don't like doing. For example, right now I'm just hunting for boss tasks with Turael, or well, Turael for those of you who have completed while Gothic sleeps. Because of this, I block super common tasks like Abyssal Demons, Hellhounds, Greater Demons, because I already got the pets related to the task, and doing them is just a pain in the ass. On the other hand, your cancels should only be used on tasks which have a low chance to be assigned, and that are neither good experience nor good GP per task. If using Turael or Turael for example, tasks I will always cancel are Water Fiends, Kurasks, and Elves, just to mention a few. I also blocked the neck reels, which are a super popular task and good experience and GP, but it's just too long and I'm simply hunting for boss or quick tasks to continue the grind. When it comes to extensions, again, this always comes down to what you can stomach the most because of the number of KC needed per task will jump pretty massively. And you don't really want to stop the flow in case you got bored with a long task. To finish this yapping session, remember that there is an almost objectively correct way to go about your blocks, cancels, and extensions, which you are seeing on screen right now. You can of course mix and match according to what you enjoy doing the most to have more fun on your way to 99 Slayer. I will now talk about a very simple one that I really hope you use on your way to 99, because sadly, I didn't even know about this when I was grinding for the Maxscape. If you didn't know, there are 2 items called Bracelet of Slaughter and Expeditious Bracelet. And these 2 are going to give you either more experience and GP per hour, or faster tasks as you are looking to grind out for points. In short, when you wear the Bracelet of Slaughter, there's a 25% chance that 1 kill will not count towards your current Slayer task, meaning you will be slaying more monsters. If you receive a task of, let's say 200 Necroreels, with very sloppy math, you will be killing close to 40 more of them. And if bursting, this translates to even more experience. If you do this with money tasks, you will naturally gain more profit. On the other hand, the Expeditious Bracelet will have the opposite effect, and there will be a 25% chance for 1 KC to count as 2, naturally speeding up your Slayer trips. This is mostly helpful if you are forced to do tasks you can't skip, or if during Turael boosting or skipping, which we will cover in greater detail in one of the next tips. I didn't start using these until around 30 million Slayer experience, when I realized that the bonuses you get from the glove slot are not super powerful, except maybe for the Tormented Bracelet. But when I got into Slayer pet hunts more seriously, I used the Bracelet of Slaughter at the Hydra and the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil to kill as many bosses as possible. I got both of these pets at 3.5 and 4.7k respectively, and I really wish I knew about them sooner, although I didn't go super dry on the Gargoyle pets, Abyssal Orphan, Kraken, and Cerberus pets. Something that could pretty much go hand in hand with Slaughter and Expeditious Bracelets is learning how and where to burst or barrage your Slayer tasks. This is effectively the best Slayer experience per hour, but remember that it requires a bit of RNG because you won't always get Slayer tasks you can do this way. The most common ones to do this on are Jellies, Dust Devils, Necreals, Abyssal Demons, and Smoke Devils. But realistically speaking, any monster that occupies a single tile can be killed this way. For example, Anku in the Catacombs of Kourend, which I personally do to finish the task much faster. Grab the best mage setup you have, which includes Virtus Robes because of their increased damage when using ancient spells, and if you don't have items that boost this stat, prayer enhancing gear will also do fine. Take your rune pouch with the highest multi-target spell you can cast, and go to one of the multi-combat slayer area of your choice. The lazy way of doing this would be tagging every monster with, for example, iron darts, and wait for them to stack in a 3x3 area. And attack one in the middle, so the spell can hit as many monsters as possible. Turn Auto Retaliate on, and let your character do the rest. For the fast way, tag as many monsters as possible, go to any corner, and shift-click the floor to run like this, which will let the monsters stack. When all of them are on you, click on the stack and see the experience drops go absolutely crazy. Remember to bring either Bracelet to shorten or extend your task. To do this on Smoke Devils, place a cannon here, and then maneuver around the bone pile on the left, which will make them stack north, east, and south of the tile, to then attack the closest stack to the cannon. I now want to highlight one of the best additions to Slayer in recent memory, a new reward by the name Task Storage. This is not a new feature by any means, being added all the way back in July of 2021. You may unlock the task storage with 1000 points and will be permanently available. The cool thing about it is that as of May of 2024, storing a task is completely free because prior to this update, doing this would cost 50 points, and if you unstore the task, you wouldn't get your points back. It makes me wonder how many points I spent in these 3 years stacking tasks for a Slayer pet, but I'd rather not think about it. 1000 Slayer points may seem like a big commitment because you can do so much with them, so an extra little tip I'll give you regarding this feature is that you should only unlock it once you have purchased every single big thing you need from the rewards. Unlocks like the Slayer helmet, bigger and badder, like a boss, and your blocks and extensions are much more important than task storage. You could use this in one of the ways that I have come up with on the fly. The first one would be to store a task you can do with bursting or barraging like Necreals, and if you get them back to back, you can slay upwards of 400 or even more with a Bracelet of Slaughter, leading to insane experience gains in a short amount of time. The second one, and the one I personally do, is that you can line up 2 tasks that could give you a pet. I will be doing this with Araxor when it drops on August 28th, and wearing my Bracelet of Slaughter, I'll be killing as many spiders as possible until I get the pet and all of its uniques. This next one is not for the faint of heart, because we will be going to the wilderness to farm a chunky amount of Slayer points. If you watched my 1 to 99 Slayer video, you know the basics of Wildy Slayer, but for those of you who don't, I'll give you a quick refresher. Just like Konar's area restricted tasks, Crystalia is the Wilderness Slayer Master, and you will only be able to take on your Slayer tasks by killing monsters in the wilderness. She has her own task streak and you're not able to do Turael boosting with her. She has the biggest point payout of all Slayer Masters, bringing that risk versus reward factor. Crystalia has a ton of tasks that can be done extremely quickly, such as hill giants, pirates, and skeletons. Hell, almost every single creature in the wilderness can be assigned by her, even those weird magical axes all the way north in that little prison cell near the Wildy Lever. The second cool thing about it is that if you're feeling more adventurous, you can take on your cannon to the Wilderness Slayer dungeon and fight an insane variety of creatures in multi-combat, including monsters like Abyssal Demons, Dust Devils, and Necreals. The downside is that being the Wilderness, you could be shafted by PKers at any second. The third and final thing is that you may kill Artio, Calvarion, Spindle, and Scorpia on bears, skeletons, spiders, and scorpion slayer tasks in case you are hunting for those pets. On top of that, if you unlocked like a boss, he will also be able to assign bosses to kill, and you can pick whatever amount you want to make him either easier or a long one to have as much KC as possible for chances at those pets. Remember to only take things you are willing to lose, because dying to PKers will always be a hit to the mental. Something we mentioned before, and I have also dedicated an entire video on, is Turael boosting. Other than give you a little refresher, I also want to quickly talk about the difference between boosting and skipping, so you know which one better fits your playstyle. Turael boosting refers to asking Turael, or Aya, for a Slayer task 9 times. And then, do your 10th Slayer task on your preferred Slayer Master like Turael, Konar, or Steve. If you have the Elite Current Diary, Konar will provide the highest Slayer point payout of the 3. With optimal gear, you can do those 9 Turael tasks in under 10, 15, or 20 minutes, and your 10th task can go from something quick like 3 Rune Dragons to something longer like 180 Gargoyles. But for a lot more points per task, this is definitely worth it. On the other hand, Turael skipping means getting a Slayer task from your preferred Slayer Master, and if it's something you don't like, go to Turael or Aya to cancel it, do it, and go back to your main Slayer Master. You will repeat this until you get a task you are looking for, to either do it or store it if you are looking for back-to-back tasks in order to go to pet hunting adventures. The downside to the second method is that it will completely cancel your streak and you won't be able to get it back unless you grind all the way back to your previous task number. Statistically speaking, this is the fastest way to obtain the Slayer task you want if you don't have a ton of points to cancel like a degenerate, but I like my streak too much to ever do this. If this sounds interesting so you can farm as many points as possible before the release of Araxor, start doing it ASAP because you want a minimum of 3000 points to skip as much as possible and store Araxite tasks for the back-to-back. This last one is something that, surprise, I have also talked about in one of my previous videos. I will do a 2-for-1 and start by reminding you that I personally don't recommend bossing until at least a 95 plus Slayer, when experience is not that big of an issue since you're almost at 99. The reason for this is that Slayer bosses don't give as much experience per KC, as opposed to killing the lesser variants of the monsters much faster, leading to better experience rates overall. I got kinda cooked in that previous video because a lot of people do recommend going on bossing trips, but remember, I'm not prohibiting you from doing it, I'm simply recommending you think about it in case you want to get over Slayer a lot quicker. On the other hand, if you do Turael boosting, a lot of his tasks can be done on profitable monsters or bosses, which can keep the grind a little more tolerable. You can do Artio or Callisto on bear tasks, Revenants on ghost tasks, Calphite Queen on Calphite tasks, Demonic Gorillas on monkey tasks, Scurios on rat tasks, Scorpia on scorpion tasks, Calvarion or Vedion on skeleton tasks, Sarachnis, Spindle or Venenatis on spider tasks, and even Vorkath on zombie tasks. It may sound counterproductive to do these bosses, but you will receive such a small amount from Turael that you could do them for a quick adventure hoping to get some uniques. I personally do Sarachnis and Scurios whenever I get those tasks, because I'm still hunting for those pets. Scapers of all ages, that is it for my new Slayer tips in 2024. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something useful. As always, if you'd like to be entered in our weekly bond giveaway, tell me what your number 1 Slayer tip is and why. Include the term RSN in your comments, and I will pick a random winner on Friday's stream. I want to give a chunky thank you to all the people you see on screen for supporting the channel directly with a monetary subscription, which helps me feed my wife, my puppy, and my 20 donkeys. If you'd like to be part of this list of legends, click the join button below and see all the cool benefits you could get in the videos, in the live streams, and of course in the Discord. In the next one, we will talk about new ways to train in 2024 and beyond, going over a few methods that have received some massive quality of life changes. For now, I hope you have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.